But as promised, let's shift focus to India's shrimp sector then. Budget 2025 focused on providing financial support for setting up a network for nucleus breeding centers for shrimp broodstock and providing financing for shrimp farming, processing and export, which will be facilitated through NABARD. India's marine exports are dominated by shrimp exports, and India continues to remain cost competitive in the global shrimp market. But what impact will reciprocal tariffs have on India's shrimp exports, and what is the outlook when it comes to growth both in the domestic as well as in the export market? To discuss this, we now have Mr. Nitin Awasthi, analyst at Incred Capital, now joining us. Mr. Awasthi, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here at ET Now. And first things first, lot of uncertainty globally with respect to tariff war, with respect to reciprocal tariffs which are expected to take effect later today. And since India is a major exporter in the global shrimp market, help us understand what kind of impact will it have on shrimp exporters back home here in India?
Firstly, if you look at the shrimp market itself of India, the whole marine basket, if I would like to say, that is around 60,000 crores. That is the rough number that we export in the rupee value terms every year, out of which 50,000 crores comes directly from the shrimp business. And that's the kind of weight that the shrimp exports have when it comes to Indian marine exports. As of today, from the whole 60,000 crore mark, that is export that India earns via exporting marine goods, about 20 to 25,000 comes from the US. So that is what is in danger as of now. However, one thing which is widely missed, at least for this segment, has been that within this segment, you have not seen this kind of tariff which is already there. So now we are talking about tariffs which will be imposed. As of today, the shrimp sector within the US has two kinds of duties already. There's anti-dumping duty, which is about 4%. So players would be paying between 2 to 4% over there. And you have a countervailing duty as well, which is about 5.77%. So you have people, Indian exporters, already paying between 8 to 10% as tariff. So this is, at least for this sector, this is something which looks like could correct given this event right now, because a lot of import restrictions which India has put on the US is actually hampering our own industry, because India needs a lot of imports to come in from the US to support its own shrimp industry. And India has put a lot of tariffs on those products. Now, given that the tariff war is on, if India would let go of those tariffs, it's actually going to be beneficial for the industry.
So India is already paying 8 to 10% on exports of shrimp to the US, and now if additional levies are put in place, it will perhaps be a negative. But if you can help us understand the demand environment when it comes to shrimp in the global market, how much has demand risen by? And for Indian exporters back home, what has been the trend over the last 3 to 4 years, and what's the outlook going forward?
So if I would look at a past few years, you had 21, calendar year 21, which was the peak for our shrimp exports from India. We did close to 50,000 crores in current dollar rates. Our exports were obviously at 7 lakh 34 metric tons. And currently we had from 21, we have seen a steady downtrend on both volumes and pricing basis. This year, we are expecting a very sharp rebound, given that demand is back. So if I would give you numbers, last year, the share of Indian within the shrimp imports of US was about 35%. January numbers are in as of now. Indian share has risen to 44%. February numbers are expected soon, and what we are expecting is our share will rise closer to 50%. It won't touch 50, but 46%-ish, which is a very high number. No country has ever achieved this. So demand-wise, it's good. Pricing has rebounded sharply. So this year, we are expecting a sharp revival in pricing and a sharp revival in volumes also.
Demand has been good, prices are reviving, that's the word coming in. But Mr. Awasthi, wanted your thoughts on the additional measures that the government can take in order to strengthen the industry going forward. A whole host of measures were announced in the budget as well. But any other kind of support that the industry is seeking from the government to boost exports further?
As of now, the biggest requirement where the government needs to step in is the effort of communication with the countries where our exports go. The reason being, all other players within the shrimp market globally are giants. Within India, although we export 50,000 crores worth of shrimp, like we spoke about, however, we have about 100 people exporting those shrimps. So then the amount of burden that falls on these companies is too large, and they cannot manage to go and negotiate with countries. And that's where the Indian government needs to come in a very big way. There's a very big gap, and that communication gap needs to be filled. What I've understood talking to people in the industry and government officials is that MPEDA has taken that role, and it is trying to negotiate, trying to consolidate the talk and be the window of communication with other countries. Now, if that comes into play, the first thing that would happen is that 5.77% countervailing duty would be stopped. Now, that is a massive win for the industry. And that is what the industry is expecting to do now.
Okay, so that's as far as the demand environment and export environment is concerned. But Mr. Awasthi, also wanted your thoughts on exports that we do to the European Union, because India EU FTA talks are underway. What kind of opportunity will it open up for Indian exporters? What is the share of exports to EU currently, and could it jump higher on account of these FTA talks?
As of now, we total marine exports 15% goes to the EU. FTA talks, unfortunately, have been going for a while. EU is a very tough market to break in, especially for marine exporters in India. A lot many people have failed miserably trying to break into this market. Unfortunately, it is too specialized, too sophisticated, and too small in every segment for anybody to make a major impact as of now. As of now, the way it looks like it will be a tough market to crack, because other reason apart from EU and relations between EU and India is that the relationships between EU and Vietnam are very strong. So even if India gets somewhat away within EU, the benefits that Vietnam gets, it's way off. We will not be able to compete in that market.
As far as export demand environment from India, EU, FTA are concerned, Mr. Awasthi, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now and helping us decode what the implication could be of a reciprocal tariff on India's shrimp sector.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.